Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee with Bobbi. Today I'm having coffee with Nigel Marrison and Angélica Pinzón. Having been on the ocean in one way or another since childhood, Nigel is in his element when surrounded by water. He circumnavigated the globe at 22 years old on a 45-foot sailing yacht. He has since spent 2 decades in the super yacht industry, predominantly as a captain, covering all of the world's major oceanic territories alongside unique experiences in Arctic navigation. As a master, his last command was that of a 55-meter super yacht cruising the Mediterranean, Caribbean, Indian Ocean, Arctic, and other far-flung destinations around the world. Broadening his horizons in recent years, he remains a mentor to captains and crew, in addition to taking on a role as a leader in wider areas of sustainability and oceanic preservation and regeneration. I'm also having coffee today with Angélica Pinzón. She has a passion for creativity, innovation, and strategy. With a background in visual communication, branding, and creative thinking, she has been involved in entrepreneurship for over 10 years now. As a pioneer in UX, UI development in Spain back in the day, and thanks to always having a strong connection with the power of community and surrounding herself with the people shaping the world. She then shifted into bringing her personal projects to life. Sharing knowledge and ideas is the key that drives innovation. She has been evolving with the market, finding her strength in strategy, collaborating in projects like Voyager Europe and Kai Retreats, and funding Global Shifter, and currently at Alegria Creative Studio. These days, along with Captain Nigel Marrison, she is an advocate of sustainable change and is co-creating Conscious Yachting Club, a much necessary, fresh and young vision for the yacht industry to innovate and adapt to the current needs and evolution of the market. Nigel and Angélica, thank you so much for joining us today. It is amazing to have you guys both on here from Spain. You guys are my first guests internationally from Spain, and I used to live in Barcelona, so I'm so excited to speak with you today. Nigel and Angélica, do you want to share with us a little bit more about your story, how you met, and what you're currently working on?
Yeah, sure thing. It was June 2019, actually, when I got a little bit disheartened with yachting and decided to leave my command at that time. I'm a super yacht captain. And I decided to leave my command. We'd recently moved to Ibiza in Spain, and it was a really exciting time for me. A time of transition and change, an opportunity, and so. Yeah, I mean, it was emotional for me, considering the fact that I'd worked in yachting for 2 decades. And but I just came to a point where I sort of readdressed what I was wanting from my life and what I was wanting in return, and so I suppose the universe guided me really into quitting my job, and at that time we'd just moved to Ibiza, and so I was very excited to have a summer kind of vacation in my new island of residence, and which was amazing. But then I sort of always had this feeling that I had power of entrepreneurial capacity, capability, a real feeling that I could have change. I could do something which would have really positive change, and it was just a matter of getting that out of me, really. And I started to explore my skills, my experiences, and think about how I could offer a service which encompassed my skill sets and experience, knowledge. And I started that by in experiences, essentially, experiential experiences pretty much anywhere in the world. Having been traveling for so many years, it felt very natural for me to number one, develop my own brand through my network, through the places that I've been to and everything else. It's kind of comes quite interesting, and the things that I've done, of course, the experiences that I've created for my guests through work, that it was something that I felt I could really offer to clients. And so I went down that route, made some mistakes, learned a lot, and kind of didn't really get the feeling that it was going to be something that really empowered me. And with that, I started a search actually online in the Ibiza, the network in Ibiza, for some help for me to perhaps like identify a little bit more specifically, my strengths, my challenges, where I can, where I could really use me and what I'm all about, and offering that to other people. And that's where I met the delightful, innovative, Latina, entrepreneurial lady that is Angélica Pinzón.
Me. Yes. So now that you guys have met, tell us a little bit more. Okay, so Nigel, you had these ideas to get sort of out of being a yacht captain and start something new. It didn't quite work out. You weren't feeling it. And Angélica comes into the picture. What are you guys working on?
Well, I'll let Angélica expand a little bit on that subject.
When I first met Niall, he was in the search for something. When you are by yourself starting a business, you feel a little bit lost, and you know you need something, but you don't really you can really point what it is. And funny enough, on 2020, I decided I was also working on a project related on experiences. In this case, was more like innovation trips and such. But because of 2020, I had to put all this on hold and specialize on my other set of skills and my second passion, which is strategy and creativity, and how I can implement all this in brands. And I see a project like Niall's, and it was like, all right, what we need to do is to actually do a research around the industry and understand what is the world going to need in the future. If we talk about experiences, if we talk about a visa, then you think, all right, tourism. And it's like, it's not necessarily has to be with digital marketing. It's actually, for me, it was like, we need to zoom out and take a bigger look on the picture and build something that made sense. So Niall and I had a couple of meetings, and we brainstormed a lot of ideas, and then it clicked. I was like, all right, what we need is to do an entire business innovation project where we build something with the really special set of skills that Niall has and the really special location that we have, and innovate, either tourism or we'll see what happens. So I spoke to him. One of the most important things that I have to highlight is that when you want to innovate, people need to, especially clients, from my end, that I'm a small creative studio and I'm quite flexible to explore new ideas. The most important part is that the client feels confident with you, which in this case is Nigel, and it's open to explore and to brainstorm and to create pretty much from scratch. And I told him that I wanted to go into a journey where we understood everything from the beginning, who we are, our strengths, what the future is gonna look like. We play a lot with that, with a different hypothesis. And then we pointed together with the thing that we can actually do, and we began a quite amazing journey that has been the past 6 months.
That is incredible. And you've outlined exactly what everybody is attempting to do as they start a new business, wondering how to innovate. You outlined that for everybody right here. Start with your strengths, start from the ground up, and then build from that and see where everything intersects.
If you're stuck, if you're like, I really want to do this, but don't know where to go, trust me when I tell you, sometimes the better solution is to zoom out. Just understand if where you're putting your energy makes sense. Because maybe from 2020, and a lot of my clients came from the tourism industry, but at that moment it's like, how can we think differently? And are you open to that? Are you open to uncertainty? It's if you're up to the challenge along the way, yes, you're gonna find a lot of obstacles, but the reward is even more amazing. And then you will appreciate the little milestones as if they were big wins. Everything becomes like, we made this. We need to be proud of ourselves. We need to embrace it. It's been an amazing journey, and you start also to be really kind to what you do, and value your job and the opportunity to learn as well. But I do have to say, the most important thing from the part of view of a creative or an agency or a freelance, however you want to call it, is the fact that the person or the company you're working with, that they're willing to jump into that challenge with you, and willing to explore, and willing to risk, and willing to reinvent. And without that, it's only a one-way journey. The other person will be resistant.
Right. And
it's a change maker.
Exactly. If the resistance is there, then the growth isn't going to be there. And you have to have everybody on board for that. And like you said, it is uncertain, but the payoff for that risk at the end of the day is exponentially better.
Yeah. And Nigel trusted me on that. He was like, well, you're the expert in this. Let's do this. And so far, I think he's happy.
Well, let's go to Nigel. Nigel, tell us a little bit more about your side of this. So you've started this new endeavor, and it's going, how is it going for you?
Well, it's going amazing. We're in very early stages. We've had this creative process, which has been roadmapped by Alegria Creative Studio, which is Angélica's brand. And so we've gone through the brainstorming, the roadmap, so many processes, and identifying skills and attributes and everything else. And then we really were thinking about, well, through the research, we identified a niche. And that niche we identified was that different sectors weren't talking to each other. I'm a yachting guy. I'm a yacht captain, and so yachting, the yachting industry is sort of my backyard, so to speak. And so we've got yachting, and then I always want to have positive impact in the local communities of where we operate. So, for example, like if we go to a particular island or somewhere, I always try and get the chef to buy the food from the local greengrocer, or if we have anything to do, I try to involve local people and put money into local community, and that really highlighted like the local aspect. So we've got local, we've got yachting, and we've got local. And then we were like, oh, right, well, I'm actually very eco-conscious as well. And so I've implemented lots of initiatives on board, and many different things on board to reduce waste, or using products with reduced impact, reduced toxins, and also then helping at that point it was like beach cleans, or just simple things, but with a big heart. And so we were exploring different brands on the island of Ibiza, and then Angélica introduced me to the United Nations and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. Now, this was quite a big light bulb moment, because I was like, I'd never heard of the United Nations goals, Sustainable Development Goals, until that point. And then it was like, right, maybe we can tie all these different aspects together. So we've got yachting, we've got local impact, and we've got, let's just call it environment, or let's just call it eco, yeah, for the sake of argument. And how can we bring all this together to help the government with their goals for sustainable development in tandem with the United Nations initiative? And that was really where the journey started. And that was when I said, well, I'm a conscious captain. And Angélica said, write that down immediately.
Yeah, the light bulbs going off as a creative and marketing person.
Yeah,
right there.
You said, write that down.
Out there it is.
Exactly. I don't argue with Angélica. I mean, we have discussions, so I immediately wrote it down, Conscious captain. And from that day forth, that is essentially the fundamental elements of what we've deemed to develop. And we have developed the Conscious Yachting Club. Long story short, the Conscious Yachting Club is a 360 view. It's a 360 approach for yachts and yachting to embrace practices for a more sustainable future. Having positive impact on board the yachts with their crew, having positive impact in the communities in which the yachts are operating, having or mitigating and improving practices related to the environment. And it's been a very exciting journey, which is, through all the creative process, is actually very, very clear to us now on the direction that we're going to take. So we've created a business model We've now got websites. We have validation from industry houses, influential people within yachting. We're engaging with people in Ibiza and organizations and initiatives in Ibiza who are very excited to be on board with us and partnering with us. We're just coming out of our shell and starting to talk about the subjects and the projects, which is why we're here today. And yeah, it's very exciting future. And yeah, perhaps Angélica would like to expand a little bit further on the project.
Well, now that I'm listening to Nigel speak, it brings me back to the moment where we began and how when we made our first statement. And I think one of the change makers or the biggest foundation as well for the Conscious Yachting Club was when Nigel told me, you know what, I'm a conscious yachting, I'm a conscious captain. And I was like, now we're talking about something really unique and special, especially because we have 2020, we have 2030 goals as well. The world is rapidly changing, but also we all have to work together to fight the environment, the sustainable crisis that we have. And then he says that a lot of captains and a lot of crew and a lot of the community, most of the community around the yachting industry is actually really conscious. The thing is, sometimes they don't have the time or resources to learn more about it. And me, I'm a social person. I love to learn from other people. And one of my biggest passions until a year and a half ago, was to attend conferences. For me, was my highlights of the year. I'm going to Lisbon, I'm going to Toronto, I'm going to Madrid, I'm going to all these different places where I could learn from people and get inspired. And it's what I look when I go into a new place. I just happen to be new in the island, and slowly I was identifying the innovators in the island, what people was doing here, who was a remote worker, who is actually being an entrepreneur in the island, and what are they doing? What are the industries in here? And I realized that there's a lot of talent in here, and there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but there are change makers in the island, especially creating positive impact. And I was like, and I always wonder why no one spoke about them. When you're outside of Ibiza, or when you just come here, you don't really find them. You know, touristic place, so you find the common things. And then all right, we have a community that actually care, and also we have a lot of talent. And if you, just by the sake that you're starting a company, that you are adventuring into your own journey, you need a lot of support, and you need to be appreciated for that. I was like, well, if the future of tourism has to do with give back locally, and the world is moving towards sustainable behavior, I do want to say that sustainable is not only environmental. When we talk about sustainability these days, and the nature of the 2030 goals, the 17 goals are environmental, social, and governmental. So it's not only, yeah, let's go plant trees. It's like, how can we support, or how can we highlight the change makers of Ibiza, the ones that are driving a difference, the one that is making that they're preserving the amazing Mediterranean islands. Because Ibiza is beautiful. It's just breathtaking. And we start by that. It's like, how can the yachting, if tourism needs to give back, if we have a conscious community, how can we help that conscious community to give back or to promote innovation within the island, because there's nothing more special than that, than support to the ones that need the projects to be highlighted. And that's how it began. We were like, oh, well, there's something that is called carbon offsetting. It's known in the world, which is you measure your emissions and you put a number and a price to the emissions that you make or that you create per year, and then you pay a money based on your emissions. And it's like, that's cool, but that money goes to different areas. But if we take that concept and we probably tell yachting industry, hey, do you want to measure your emissions? And that money, we can use it to give back. And by giving back, then we can also help the government achieve the 2030 goals. We start creating a circular model that's amazing. And we were like, yeah, that's how we're gonna start. And then we were like, yeah, actually, that's kind of like no one, that's kind of like charity, like just people paying for the sake of having peace of mind. But when you start a business model, it's like, yeah, you actually need to provide a service. Right. But our first thought was, hey, maybe the yacht industry can focus on highlight the innovators, change makers of the island. That's how it all began. And then right now, well, we did more research, we explored way more, and we thought about how to create better impact, measure impact, and establish a more solid foundation on the business model. Nigel, I don't know if you'd like to continue speaking about it, or you want me to keep going.
So with this, I'm going to interrupt here a second. Are you guys working directly? So the service, as we're getting into, that you guys have created, is it going more so to like the yachting industry and yacht captains, providing something to them, and then you guys are delegating how it goes back, or is it something else?
Well, there's a couple of there's a couple of angles to it. There's a couple of sides to the triangle, and one of those sides is community. So we're empowering, we're creating a new revenue stream for local communities to supply products and services to the yachting industry. So if you imagine a yacht that's going to come into the Ibiza or the Balearic waters, and let's just take a really simple example that they want some fruits and vegetables, then why not? You've got one option. One option is to go and buy fruit and vegetables from the supermarket, which has been flown from Costa Rica and is packaged and then put on the shelf. And so the money goes to the supermarket. It's a big international brand. The money goes to the producer in Costa Rica who's growing the pineapple, and then it's packaged up and sent over to Spain and is then distributed to Ibiza. So that's one option. Or option two is that perhaps we offer organic seasonal produce from the island, which is grown on the island by local producers. And what we do is we create an app, a web app, where the yacht coming into the island has an opportunity to get high quality produce grown locally of an organic nature, not just of an organic nature, but we vet all our suppliers, and they really have to be either producing or they have to have a mission towards a sustainable future. And so it's not just greenwash or hogwash. This is real, and this is a way that we create a directory of local suppliers of products and services which the yachting community can use to supply the yacht, supply the chef, the stewardess, with or the guests, with these goods and services, which then reduces the supply chain. Yeah, it has better quality products, puts money into the local economy, and reduces or eliminates packaging, and is delivered. It's 0 kilometer food. So that's really a simple example. Another way that we help the yachting, the yachts and the yacht captains and crew to embrace practices for a sustainable future is by providing them with a service, and that service is in the form. It gets a little bit more technical now, but we provide tools and resources for the captain and crew to implement a system on board. It's a software system which will collect data and analyze the data to see where the spikes are in their emissions or in their operation. So, for example, if we've got a jet ski, for example, on board a yacht, jet skis, as we know, they're quite, they can be quite smoky. Perhaps you fill up the jet ski at the back of the yacht with a jerry can, and not all the fuel goes into the jet ski. Some perhaps residue goes into the water, and then the guests go off and they are screaming around the anchorage, annoying everybody with the noise, and actually causing harm to the sea life in that area, which is a major problem. So what we can do is we can identify that spike in emission, and we can address that. So by collecting that data, analyzing it, we then have a quarterly review, and we can say, oh, right, okay, well, the jet skis are quite a high emitter. Perhaps we can look at providing you with a solution to help mitigate that impact. So we look at alternatives, clean energy, low noise alternatives, and perhaps with these newer models of equipment and toys, they're even more fun and easier to maintain, and the guests are going to be like, oh my goodness, that's something, you know, really quite innovative and yeah, really exciting. And so we also, so that's the yacht side of things. We apply a systematic, holistic approach for yachts and yachting stakeholders. So then if you have a yacht, that yacht can be operated by a management company. And so we can also apply that same system to the yacht management company. So we're going to be measuring emissions and practice through all the 4 pillars of sustainable impact, which Angélica mentioned previously, is environment, economy, marketplace, and workplace. So we look at how the yacht crew and guests are interacting with the local local society, the local communities. How are they interacting? Yeah, what restaurants are they going to? What activities are they doing on the shore? Let's have a look at those. What sort of emissions are those generating, and how perhaps can we offer the guests a solution to have an amazing experience, but perhaps put money back into the local community, regenerating the economy and regenerating the environment. So that's another approach. Yeah, it's and the other thing is we actually help the government. Let's take Ibiza as an example. I mean, Ibiza Formentera at the moment is the pilot project. But whenever I say to anybody, "Oh yeah, I live in Ibiza," oh right, I was like, "Yeah, it's beautiful, it's multicultural, it's very it's quite organic. Actually, the Balearics are the Islas Sostenible, but all they know about is the party island. Now, is that the best reputation that Ibiza wants to have? They call themselves the Sustainable Islands, but in fact, their reputation is with the nightclub industry or the nightlife industry. How is that industry impacting the island? Can we help the government? I don't want to say face wash the island, but how can we help the Balearic government improve the image of Ibiza and actually Mallorca, of the Balearic Islands, which to align the islands a little bit more with current and future demands, consumer demands of tourism demands. And so it's a multifaceted approach for yachts and yachting to become more sustainable.
I love this because you guys are so right that you have to infuse the local places that you go. In any tourism place, whether you're traveling by boats, whether you're traveling by air or by car, you know, if you're always going to big chain places, when you travel there, it's doing really nothing for the locals who live there. And I've been blessed and been able to travel and live abroad and see the impact that can be made when you infuse the local tourism and the locals who live there. And what you are doing creates that connection where otherwise, like you had mentioned, it would be an afterthought, or you would attempt to, but it's so much on your plate, like only so much can get done in a day by people on the boat or however means of travel. But when you have this opportunity, you're like, here's a solution. It's right here. Open the app. What do you need when you land in Ibiza? I'm going to order my groceries from whoever down the street, and it's going to be delivered, and it's going to be the best things. That is absolutely amazing. And especially that you bring in the environmental impact, both with, you know, carbon emission policies and so forth on that level, but also going deeper and getting into the ocean and oceanic level as well, of like, you know, what you're doing ultimately affects sea life. It ultimately affects water quality.
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
definitely.
What I want to highlight, as well as Nigel was saying, we have our MVP, and it's assessment, strategy, data collection, reporting. Those in few words, it's what our core offering for our members of the club, for a yacht management, a yacht owner, yacht captain, crew. That's our core value. That I wanted to highlight the sustainable strategy that we want to offer, because we have the initial assessment and we have data on everything that you're doing right now, and we look for room to improve. So what we're doing is to just make it easy. This is your vessel, this is who you are. Follow these little steps, and then you're gonna start creating amazing impact with that sustainable report strategy that we're giving them. It's like an ABC, or 1, 2, 3, to at the same time create that positive impact. It's like you want to go on a day trip in the island. Well, you can use this and that.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make it as easy and seamless and easy and smooth as possible to the members of our community. All of this also translated in the most important thing. Again, it raised the question that if I'm gonna pay to be part of a club, what else am I gonna get? And we are also putting on the table the fact that members of our community, of the Conscious Yachting Club, right away, they're gonna have reporting for ESG reporting, which is right now mandatory for most of investors, most of banks. Is gonna become it in few years. It will come into regulation for any sort of industry, which increase the value and the reputation of the members of our club. We are creating an exclusive yet inclusive community. And on the side, because we also have the directory, we are bringing together all those people in the island. And the directory is open source. Anyone can see it. We use it for us as a reference. And when we implement the strategy, obviously the members of a directory are priority. But again, if you're in China and you want to know what to do in here, how to consume smart or conscious, use the directory and enjoy it, because it's what we want to work together on this, but providing the value, that the fact that it is a lot of work. Also, data measurements, it's our biggest it's the biggest key or biggest tool that we have to prevent greenwashing as well. We want to solve that issues. We want to make it easy. We want you to have a safe community or a support community where if you have any questions or you want to know what's going on, what initiatives and such, you can ask us. We want to guide you into this transformation, but also you have, because you're part of our club, you have your ESG reporting that it's gonna look amazing for your investors or your bankers or your board, and you are gonna have data that prove what you're doing. And at the same time, well, all the other benefits that we already mentioned before.
It's absolutely amazing. It's like a one size all fit answer. Like helping the community, helping the environment, sustainability. You've got investors, everybody at play. You guys have thought of it all. Nigel, I want to ask you, coming from the yachting industry and being a part of it for decades, did you have to do all of this on your own as far as being eco-conscious? I know you mentioned at the beginning of practices that you included. Were you as aware of the carbon emissions on your main journeys that you were taking?
The past 6 months has been the most incredible educational journey, I was going to say probably of my life. But probably apart from doing my master's certification, I mean, I didn't go to school. I always just ran off and went to play rugby and stuff, so that was so my education, actually, my let's say academic education was in my master's for as a shipmaster, but then this recent education has been massive for me. So was I aware? No. Was I aware that eating meat had such a negative impact on the global environment? No, I had no idea. Was I aware that milk had such a negative impact on the environment, or dairy, let's say? No. I am living proof that education is absolutely critical for the future of humanity. And that is a bold statement, but I am living proof that I can be here and to say that education equals awareness, consciousness, and so much more. And this is a fundamental value of the Conscious Yachting Club, is to provide vertical education in the communities and in yachts and yachting for a sustainable future. And it's absolutely imperative. I've learned so much, and through little changes that I've made. I mean, I don't eat I meet very rarely, yeah, for many reasons now. Why? Well, because I'm now feel further educated from again from the environmental impact that it has, and from the social impact it has. I mean, we think about, you know, avocados. We want avocados all year round.
Right.
You know, you go step by step backwards. What does it take to produce those avocados? Month in, month out, you know? I mean, it's a massive industry. It's huge. We get the avocado, but do we think about the value chain of which we're engaging with?
Nope.
No, we just want to have the avocado on toast or whatever, however you have your avocado. Yeah. Well, what I say to you is just simple things have a massive impact. So fortunate to live in a sun-drenched island, in a sun-drenched country now, but you know, it's possible to eat the seasonal produce and buy local and eat seasonal is a huge thing, because it reduces so much emissions. If you think about that pineapple or that avocado that's been shipped from Costa Rica or Mexico or whatever around the world, and you think about the carbon emission that is having, then you get it on your plate, and actually think about coffee and the slave labor that is widespread in the production of coffee. So you put that spoon of coffee that's come from wherever into your cup, or however you have it, whatever, then yeah, we have to be more aware, and we have to be more conscious about our decisions in how we are consuming. Now, if we've got in what are we looking at? 2050, we're looking at, is it 2050? We're looking at a population of 10 billion. That's a rise in 2 billion from this year, Now, to produce, I mean, I'm going probably off track a little bit here.
Oh, but, I love it. Keep going.
You know, we're going to have to feed the population. So the population rise, so our the reproduction, and also the extension of lifespan means that the population is growing exponentially. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, the main cause, or the main cause of why we are cutting, why we are deforestation of the Amazon, for example. Why are we cutting down trees? Well, it's because that in the short term, it's more profitable for the farmers to grow soy or corn or food. It's fodder. It's animal fodder to raise livestock. So we cut the trees. We plough the land. It's called ploughing in England. We turn the land, yeah, which is we're destroying the ecosystem of the soil. We then plant. We then plough, we plant, we grow. We do that for a few years, but we've actually destroyed the ecosystem of the forest. We've destroyed the ecosystem of the soil. We've then going to put toxins into that soil so that it enhances its production, so you get for the yield. So you do that for 10 years, but then because you've intoxicated that soil so much, because you have turned the soil repeatedly, this is not a natural process. It's not natural farming, is it? I mean, how can that survive? And so what you've done is you've destroyed the ecosystem. You've shortened the lifespan of the production of produce for actually in this case we're feeding the livestock because we want to eat meat, yeah. And so what happens over time is that you have a degenerated soil. That degenerated soil then becomes inefficient, and then what happens? It's no good anymore. The farmers have a very low yield. They cannot earn any money or very little money from the small yields that they're having. And so what happens? You have very detrimental effects on the society and the economy. Right, take that example. You've got environmental damage. You've got the farmer has a spiked income, but long-term income is detrimental. Okay, so you've got detriment in the economy. You've then got the the impact in the society. So what impact is it having? Is it having a positive impact or a negative impact? Say that it's a negative impact because the guy, you know, the producers no longer can afford to live because that their yields are so low, and the prices are driven so low by market demand and supply. So what do we have to do? We then go back through the cycle. Well, option one, it's desertification. So desertification is the fact that the land no longer has nutrients, no longer is able to produce the crops that's needed to feed the livestock. Just remember, this is only to feed the livestock which we are rearing for human consumption.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why this is happening. Not the only, but this is a massive reason. Yeah. So what do we have to do? We've got desertification. The land is pretty much useless. Now, you look at, I'm going to use the States, the United States as an example, because it's because the damage is extensive and it's a massive problem, but it's not just the US, this is globally. But you look at the CO2 goes up into the atmosphere. Or how's the CO2 absorbed? How do we get rid of it? Well, it's through trees, through vegetation. It gets absorbed. It goes through the trees down into the roots and then into the soil. That's the ecosystem. And so there's a cycle there. If you cut the tree, there ain't no absorption of the CO2. Yeah. So you push one side of the planet by cars and let's not use cars, let's use industry emitting so much CO2 into the atmosphere, but then you cut down the source of the absorbing the absorbance, so you take away the healer, yeah, and then and the cycle is a broken cycle. We are at tipping points as a planet, as the environment. Why are we at tipping point? There's some really simple things we can do. One is meat. That's going to solve the problem. The other thing we have to do is we have to regenerate. We have to create the regenerative economy. And that regenerative economy is possible. It's possible to regenerate the economy. How? By regenerating natural capital. That's how we do it. And this is why sustainability is such a hot, it's not a hot topic. It's the future, because we have extracted so much from the planet's natural capital. We have cut, we've drilled, we've everything, every form of extraction we've done to it. But now the planet is at tipping point. And she's telling us through storms, through sea level, through droughts, she's telling us that she's had enough. No longer will she tolerate us putting toxins into the oceans and polluting with landfill. No longer is she tolerating that. What's the ultimate response from the planet? What's the ultimate response from Pachamama? Telling us, stop, or I'm going to come in for you even harder, is the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's time to act.
Yes.
As much.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say, as much as I agree with Niall, with everything he's saying, and it's inspiring, I do want to highlight that what we need to do as a community, as it's just being a little bit conscious of what we do, how we consume, but also the major thing I have with sustainability these days is that it needs a better PR. I do have to address the fact that sustainability is not only the environment. We are talking about diversity. We are talking about quality of living. We're talking about social workplace. We're talking about our personal well-being as humans,
Mm-hmm.
and caring about ourselves. And part of caring about ourselves not only comes from the quality of work or your living situation, but also how we consume. And I don't want to scare people, me personally, that as a opposite side or for different vision from Nigel, I don't want to scare people to tell them, hey, you need to go from 100 to a 0 right now. It's not that easy. It's just take baby steps. It's a process. Innovation, creativity, the change of human behavior or a cultural shift, it's a process. So little things, and it's what Conscious Yachting Club is aiming to achieve. Just baby steps, just a set of guidelines where we move towards the right direction, where we can stop all the impact, and where we can educate ourselves into why our actions are generating impact, either negative or positive. And from there, we will be moving towards a positive future. I eat meat. I'm Latina. I grew up in South America. Everything was meat related. But it comes to a point where it's like, also, I like to know that I'm eating healthy. Do I need to eat meat every day? Not really. Also, food is amazing. There's so many types of dishes and things that you can get that not necessarily needs to be meat based. I love avocado as well. So Niall, don't mess with the avocado.
We all love it all. I think, you know, it's amazing. But I think it's just what we're talking about. It's just conscious, just consciousness. Just be conscious. Just make, you know.
And think about impact just from the kind of package that you have. Where does it come from? Shipping creates impact, whether we want to believe it or not. The fact that, do you want to get bananas from the peninsula or from the Canary Islands, or bananas that are locally grown here, probably here, because actually sending it over, consume, and it costs a lot of money. And here you'll be providing local value, and you will go boosting local economies. Just that little simple step. Have a water bottle with you. You don't need to get a plastic water bottle every single time you're thirsty, or the same. It's, again, little behaviors, little change, mindset change. Well, it's what we're trying to do. That's why education is key. That's why creating a community is key. That's why supporting people driving change or innovating towards the right direction matters. And that's why we want to promote what they're doing and support them. But also, if your industry, if the nature of your job creates a lot of impact, you don't have to build the newest electric yacht that, I don't know, fuels from garbage. You don't have to do that. You don't have to make that big investment. Probably it will come, but for now, all you have to do is just be more aware. And maybe in the operational side of yachting, just be aware of your stakeholders, how you consume, how you operate, how you treat your crew, who are your employees, their well-being, and then we will see positive impact, and we'll be moving in the right directions. And you can be part of Conscious Yachting Club.
Yes. And not only a Conscious Yachting Club, because what you're speaking on here too affects each and every one of us, like a trip to the grocery store. Eat what's seasonal and what is seasonal, and it helps that impact. If you have farmers markets in your town, go to the farmers markets, like help the locals out. It helps all of us. I'm with you, Angélica, and I'm here in Texas. It is a huge meat-driven state with cattle right now. And the same thing remains, like you eat locally or mix it up a few nights a week. You don't have to have the ribeye steak every single night. These small things really do matter. You guys are making a huge impact, not only in Ibiza, not only in Spain, but I see this as going worldwide of an impact, and you never know who you're going to reach and what these changes can do for the entire world.
I think that's the beautiful thing, is that I set out to, well, I had a vision, and that vision was to change the face of yachting. I started out changing to raise the bar of yachting. I really wanted to raise the bar and improve it. I set out on my journey to do that. And then when I met Angélica, we worked on me, and it's really manifested itself in another way, which is just like, so me. But the beautiful thing is that what it's resulted in is an opportunity to change yachting, is an opportunity to give it another image on a global scale. Because we talk about Ibiza and Formentera, let's not forget that that's just a pilot project.
Ooh,
Well, it is also an opportunity for the industry to future-proof itself. We don't want the industry to come to in the next 40 years and people just be like, no, yachting industry, they are the worst. We don't want them here. We want them to be welcome wherever they are. We want people to be happy because a yacht came. Not necessarily because you're gonna go on the vessel, but because by them being here, just creates well-being for the community. And I think that's the ultimate goal for travel industry or tourism industry in general.
Amazing. I could speak with you guys for hours on sustainability, sustainable projects. I've studied this in the past, and it is something that needs to be on the forefront of more of our minds in everyday actions that we take, from the yachting industry to each and every single one of us in our daily lives. So I thank you so much for sharing with us today. Where can people find more information out about both of you? Website, social media, etc.
Consciousyachting.club is the website. You can search my name, which is Nigel Marrison, on LinkedIn. And a future resource, which will be coming up very soon, is that I will be chairing a discussion of corporate social responsibility at the Palma Superyacht show, which will also be shared on all the usual media, so social media channels.
Also, we have LinkedIn, and LinkedIn we have the Conscious Yachting Club group. It's still on early stages, and we're still growing the community. We just launched it, but absolutely go ahead and follow us. You can find Niall and I in there, and for me, Angélica Pinzón and LinkedIn.
Wonderful. I'll make sure wherever you are watching or listening to this episode at, you can find all of the information and all of the links to connect with Nigel and Angélica right here. So there's no excuses not to connect, no excuses if you are part of the yachting community to click that button, check it out, and see what impacts you can make today. As we close, I just want to encourage each and every one of you to just take an extra step today. Be a little bit more conscious in everyday actions, everyday purchases. Is that avocado coming to you locally? Is it in season right now? As we begin to put it on our tacos and avocado toast, or maybe we're even making guacamole this weekend with it. Just take that extra step. It makes a huge difference. And with that, have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing rest of your week. This has been another episode of Coffee with Bobbi, and today's guests, Nigel and Angélica. Thank you so much.